Hey everybody, I wanted to make a quick video today discussing the options for runes and dungeon builds for each profession. In our guides we typically recommend Scholar or Strength runes for most classes, but for new players just starting out they might not have 70 or more gold for a set of Strength runes or even 30 gold for a set of Scholar runes. So with that in mind, I want to go through each class and discuss what the budget options are while still putting up respectable DPS and contributing to your group as much as possible. First up, we are going to discuss the Ranger. For Rangers, they're in luck because their best option is their budget option. The best rune set for Rangers is the Superior Rune of the Ranger. This rune is great. It gives a large DPS percentage boost with an easy-to-meet criteria, as well as boosting our crit damage and our crit chance. While you can alternatively use Scholar runes, I would argue that the ease of maintaining the 7% DPS boost makes this the optimal choice, and at less than 2 gold per rune, it is quite a bargain. So Rangers are in a pretty good place when it comes to building value. Alright, so next we'll talk about Mesmer. Mesmers get a lot from Scholar runes, but their naturally low crit chance means they usually want some amount of additional precision in the form of Assassin's gear. For a Mesmer on a budget, however, you can use Rune of the Ranger and get the crit chance without having to gear into Assassin's pieces. So if you already have full Berserker, you don't need to go back out and get Assassin's pieces so long as you use Rune of the Ranger, and you're not giving up very much DPS to get it. They're very comparable, and I am very comfortable on my Mesmer with Rune of the Ranger. Additionally, for Mesmers, I want to discuss a different option, and that is the Superior Rune of the Pack, which I'll show you now. So, while not a budget option based on the price per se, the Rune of the Pack is a great option for Mesmer DPS. A Mesmer's personal DPS will be slightly less because you won't be getting the percent damage increase from Strength or from the Rune of Scholar or the Rune of the Ranger. However, since your Phantasms don't benefit from those, your Phantasm DPS will actually go up when you use Superior Rune of the Pack. So you're trading a little bit from yourself personally to buff your Phantasms by a nice bit. Additionally, the extra swiftness duration is actually a nice benefit for Mesmers in open world, where your swiftness is usually pretty limited to your focus temporal curtain. If you're a Mesmer main and you only dabble in dungeons and you do mostly open world, I would actually strongly consider getting my armor set with Superior Rune of the Pack. I think it does a lot for the Mesmer, and in an open world situation, it's probably actually better for you. So that's definitely something worth considering, and so I would say that is the main choice if you are not a hardcore dungeon runner. And if you are a hardcore dungeon runner and you have full Berserker gear, go with Rune of the Ranger. And if you have some Assassin's pieces mixed into your gear already, go for Superior Rune of the Scholar. So that's it for Mesmer, and we'll move on. So for Guardians, the most optimal rune set is Scholar. Unless you're using a Spirit weapon build, and please don't, by the way, you will not be able to benefit from the Ranger runes. So a budget-minded Guardian should actually look into acquiring a set of Flame Legion runes. Superior Rune of the Flame Legion gives us a very nice 7% damage buff increase with a very easy-to-meet condition, since in PvE, a Guardian's foes should always be burning. Additionally, it boosts power just like the Scholar set. It trades away the crit damage from Scholar for burning duration. But what I want to say is that the burning duration boost when you're soloing a dungeon or in open world PvE might actually be more beneficial for your DPS, because it will allow you to maintain your Fiery Wrath trait more often and maintain it. And at 13 silver apiece, this set is a really good deal if you're on a budget. It's compared to 4.5 gold for a Rune of the Scholar, this costs a tiny fraction of the amount, and the DPS difference isn't that bad. So this is a really great rune set for a Guardian if you're on a budget, and I highly recommend it. So check that out. So for Engineers, the optimal rune set far and away for PvE is Superior Rune of the Scholar. However, there are several good budget options for the Engineer. First up are pack runes. Pack runes give the Engineer lots of power and precision, both of which are very useful. The meta Engineer build, though, does prescribe full Assassin's armor and weapons. So with pack runes, you will likely hit the crit chance ceiling of 100% in group play, which would be very bad. So I can only recommend these to you if you're on a budget and you've already geared out your Engineer with full Berserker gear. So what if you have Assassin's gear on your Engineer, but you're still on a budget? In that case, I will recommend the Superior Rune of the Flame Legion, much like the Guardian. Engineers benefit from the extra power and the DPS flat increase, just like the Guardian. And just like the Guardian, they have no trouble maintaining burning uptime 100% against their foes, which is actually made even easier with this rune set. I highly recommend the Flame Legion runes if you're on a tight budget and still want your Engineer to pump out top tier DPS. And again, these are dirt cheap, and you cannot go wrong with these guys. When it comes to the Thief, there is really nothing close to the Superior Rune of the Scholar. There is simply no rune that's going to give you power, ferocity, and that big of a damage boost. And for a Thief, that is the name of the game of those stats. Since a Thief in an organized group can hit 100% crit chance without any precision, none of the precision runes are really that appealing to a Thief. So this is really everything that a Thief wants. If you are on a budget, I would recommend Superior Rune of the Ogre. It also gives lots of power and gives some ferocity. The damage boost is a 4% damage boost always, which if you're not so good at maintaining your Scholar buff, this isn't a terrible trade-off. But when you're at max health, you'll definitely notice a difference between the 4% and the 10%. Additionally, the chance to summon a Rock Dog when you get hit in a dungeon can be somewhat of a liability. If the Rock Dog will draw aggro and will aggro on mobs, so it's somewhat annoying in that regard, and the people you run with might be annoyed by it. So in this case, it's somewhat difficult to recommend Rune of the Ogre over Scholar. My heart wants me to tell you to just save up the extra gold and get the Scholar, but not everyone is able to get the gold that easily. I definitely understand, and in that respect, then I would recommend for the value option the Superior Rune of the Ogre, but do bear in mind that it is a fairly significant drop off from the Scholar. It's not as close to the Scholar as some of the other budget options are for the other professions. So we'll move on to the next class. So for the Elementalist, the optimal rune set is either Strength runes or Scholar runes, depending on the role you need to fulfill for your party. If the party's looking for you to be the main might stacker for the group, chances are you're going to benefit the most from Strength runes. If your group is looking for you, on the contrary, to run staff most of the time and just pump out DPS, you'll probably benefit most from Scholar runes. That said, the budget option for Engineer, or I'm sorry, for Elementalist, along the same lines as some of the other professions, is Superior Rune of the Flame Legion. Great rune set for the Ellie, gives tons of power. It gives a nice big 7% damage increase against burning foes, and the burning duration actually comes in handy, and it's easy to meet the burning foes. Ellies do inflict a lot of burning. For instance, with Focus, you have Flame Wall. With Burning Speed, you do put up burning. And additionally, Ellies have the Burning Precision trait that gives a burning proc on crit. So Ellies have a pretty high sustainability of burning, and between an Elementalist and Guardians and an Engie or whoever else is in your group, there's a really good chance that whatever you're fighting is going to be burning. So this is just a really great budget choice for the Ellie. If you can't afford Strength runes, you can't afford Scholar runes, paying 13 silver per rune for the Flame Legion rune is going to leave you in a really good spot. So I definitely highly recommend this as a value option for Ellies to get out there and be geared up and still doing respectable damage. So that is it for the Ellie, and we'll move on to the Warrior, which will be the last one. Warrior is the class I know best, obviously. The Meta Warrior build I recommend for groups uses Superior Rune of the Scholar. Additionally, you can use Superior Rune of Strength, which is really good for solos, and it's not terrible in groups, so you're not really missing out if you have Strength, but I tend to prefer Scholar, personally. For value runes, you have a bunch of options. Warrior also benefits from the pack runes, as they definitely like having the extra power and precision. However, I find the best budget option for the Warrior is the Superior Rune of Rage. It gives us significantly high Fury uptime. When you're solo with Rune of Rage, you will maintain 100% Fury uptime, which is actually really huge, especially in open world or doing dungeon solos. When you're able to keep Fury up 100% of the time, you are just pumping out significantly more damage. And additionally, this gives you tons of crit damage extra with the fat 175 points of ferocity bonus. You'll notice definitely that you have a bit less power than you would normally have with the Scholar set, but I definitely think that this is a competitive rune choice if you're on a budget. Obviously, again, if you're not on a budget, go for Scholar or Strength. But if you are on a budget and you're just starting out, you could do a lot worse than Superior Rune of Rage. It's definitely a good choice and something that starting warriors should definitely look into. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys found this handy, and I hope that it allows people to that are on a budget to make some good choices for their character and not lose hope while they're saving up for sort of their endgame set. So that's it, guys. If you have any questions, or if you have any advice you'd like to share on maybe other rune choices that I didn't talk about for those on a budget, be sure to hit up in the comments and add your input. Like to hear it, and thank you so much. Talk to you guys soon.